For the last couple of years, I've used the dust collection system that came from Rockler, and it came with these adapters. Now that hose has worked fantastic, and so have these various adapters. They come in the various sizes that fit the different sanders and equipment that I have, and they've worked real well. The problem is they've never had a home. They've been scattered all over the shop now, and it's time to create a home for them. The solution that I came up with was something that was simple and easy, and it's called just design your own and print it out on your 3D printer. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm finally giving these a permanent home in the shop so that they will not be scattered all over the workbench, on the shelves, and any other place. So I think this is going to be a good solution, and I'm going to show you how I made this real simple adapter that will hold all of these different adapters right here for the dust collection. These adapters were great because they fit so many of the different standards that I have, but they never have had a home. I've had them thrown around on the back of the workbench where the other sanders hang out. I've had them up on the shelf and they constantly get knocked off as I reach up and pull out the various equipment. And it's time to stop all of the nonsense and give them a home. I think this will be a great location for this. I'm going to put it right here. And we'll just take the drill. Over the past several months, I've been working on organizing the shop, throwing away the things that I don't use anymore, and finding a home for the items that I do. And I think this is going to be a perfect solution to be able to keep these adapters off of the workbench and off the floor. One of the best purchases that I have made is adding a 3D printer to the shop, because it allows me to make items such as this that really help organizing in the shop and so much more. Now this one took about 11 hours to be able to print, and I just set it up and let it print overnight. I came in the next morning and it's all done. It's almost like waking up Christmas morning and going in and seeing a brand new item that would be ready to put into the shop. I use a free software called Tinkercad, and this is by the Autodesk folks, and this is a free software. And I have been able to design so many different useful items that I can both use in the shop and around the house. Now this particular holder for the adapters took about, well, I'd say roughly 30 minutes to be able to design. And that's taken the concept where I sketched it out on a piece of paper to bring it into the computer and put in all the different components. And the nice thing about this is you just take each individual component and just add to it. And the end result is something that's very useful in the shop. One of the features that I added this time was to add the text. I have not used the text in a project before, and this was a good test to see how that feature worked in the Tinkercad, and I absolutely love it. Was it necessary? No, but it does add a little extra touch to the project. To design this holder, I started out with the adapters themselves. And of course, the first thing I needed to do is decide how large of a hole that I needed. Now this is 43.44. I actually designed this where it was 43 millimeters, and that worked out real well. So as I went through each of the different steps, I recorded all of my measurements. I also wanted this to go down just about 1/4 inch. And to be able to do that, I used this again and measured down right into that area where it would be just before it touched the threads. And then I recorded that, and that was 7.72 millimeters. And I could just round that off at about 7 millimeters, and that would work good. The other thing that I did is I wanted to set up the layout. And I wanted these to be where I could easily reach them. And that worked out pretty good. Now I know the distance here, and I needed to figure out how long I wanted the whole item. And this whole entire item is about 250 millimeters long, and I made it 75 millimeters deep. As far as the spacing, this is worked out to where it was just over 15 millimeters as far as the spacing. And with this information, I could now go to the computer and with all my measurements recorded on the paper and actually make the item. There's nothing fancy about this sketch that I drew, but it does have all of the necessary measurements that I need to design this item. So the first thing I want to do is open up Tinkercad and show you exactly how I designed this. Now you can see a lot of the different projects that I've made in the past, and this was one of the most recent ones that I did for the vinyl siding to stop up the hole on the bottom of those corners. This one I made not too long ago, where I use it for the adapter on the Genmitsu CNC machine. And of course the latest one was this one, and this is what we've been talking about so far today. So let's just go ahead and click on this, and we're going to go in and I'm going to show you exactly how I made it. So the first thing I want to do is just take, and we're going to slide this out of the way. And I'm going to come over and bring in this rectangle. I'm going to bring this cube in, and this is where we're going to start. Now I said that this was 250 millimeters by 75 millimeters. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to record this information at 75 millimeters and 250 millimeters. As far as the height, this is actually 5 millimeters high. So I can click on this one right there, and I can put in 5 millimeters. So that is the basis right there. Now the back is exactly the same thing. So at this point, what I did is just duplicated it. And I can use the shortcut, or I can use this icon up here, and I just hit Control D, and I now have 2 copies of this. So I'm going to slide it out of the way for right now, and we'll put it up over here. The next component that I needed was these discs. So I'm going to grab the disc, bring it in, and I want these to stand tall, about 7 millimeters tall, above this 5. Now I could put them on the surface, but in my case, I just kept it on the platform on this work plane. So I made this 12 millimeters. So I first set that at the 12 millimeters, and then I set this dimension at the 43. And that takes care of the disc that I need. Now, of course, I need 4 of these. Control D, and that gives me a second one. Control D again, and Control D. So now I have all 4 of them. And that's basically the components that I need. The only thing that I haven't done yet is this little fillet in here, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And one more thing that I want to do right now, if we zoom in, you're going to see some rough edges around this. And what I want to do is smooth out those sides so it gives more of a perfect circle. So now it has 128 sides versus the 48 sides. So this looks rather jagged, and when I increase and change that, now that gives me pretty much a perfect looking circle. And that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to do this to this one also. And we'll do the same thing to this one. I don't need to do anything other than just highlight it. All right. Now one of the things, as far as the alignment, you can just slide these up into here. And in Tinkercad, there's not a real good way to be able to align them. I can hit the center. You see what happens? It brings them all together, and that's not what I want. So we're going to undo that. The other thing that I can do, hit the alignment again and just hit the alignment this way. Now what that does is centers them from the front to the back, but that's not what I wanted either. You see there's a different spacing in here, and that's not what I wanted. I want to be able to take these items and put them in a specific location, and I wanted them not centered from the front to the back. Remember, I'm going to put a fillet across the back, so I don't want it centered. So with that thought in mind, how do I go about doing that? So the real task is to be able to place these where I want them and to get the proper spacing. And the easiest way to do that is to use this tool right there. We'll bring that down and put it right into that location. And we want to make sure that it's right on the corner. And that's perfect. That's exactly where we want it. So now I can actually take and move these exactly where I want them. And I have the dimensions shown. You can see it's 43 millimeters in diameter. It's also 43 millimeters. Again, it shows you on the X and the Y axis. But I want to be able to know exactly where this is placed. And I told you earlier in the video that this was 15.6. So I'm going to type in 15.6, and that will bring it right up to the edge. And that gives me that movement exactly where I want it. Now the other thing that you can do is use the midpoint. Right now this is measuring off of the edge, and I said I wanted that at the 15.6. And I want this now, rather than using the edge, let's use the midpoint. So I can click on this right here, and I'm gonna put this at 35 millimeters. And that's not in the center, but that gives me the distance that I want from the front, and it gives me the distance from the back to account for the fillet that we're gonna put in a moment. Now I'm gonna just slide over, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to move over and put this in exactly the same position. So this one was 35 millimeters. So that brings it up in line. And now we just need to measure from this corner, center point of this second disc. So using the measurements and using the midpoint, I can just add this up, and I know that I want this at 74.2. And that gives me the exact location. And then we can repeat this all the way down. So I'm going to click on the next one, and we'll just put this in at the 35 millimeters. And I'll do the same thing to the last one. And that gives them all in line. As far as the spacing in between, you're just going to repeat the process that I did with the first two, and we'll save a little bit of time. To be able to show you how this ended up all completed, I can just show you with this one. And I'm using the midpoints, and that way this is 35 millimeters from this front edge to the center, and that is going to be the same on each one of them. And that gets it centered on the y-axis. Now as far as the x-axis, you're going to see that this starts out at the 37.1, and then when I move to the next one, it's 95.7, and then the next one was 154.2, and that's all measured from this left corner over to the center line. And of course the last one will be 212.8, and that has everything equally spaced now on the x-axis. So once I have all of that done, I can get rid of the ruler, and I want to group everything together. And I'm going to use this icon right there, and we'll group it together. So now this is one component that I can do anything that I want. Now I want to show you how I did these rounded radius corners, because this is something that there's not just a selection in the Tinkercad. You actually have to be able to create that. All right, to make that curve radius, I'm just going to bring in the cube. Only thing I'm going to do to this cube is just change the height of it, and I'm just going to make it 10 millimeters. You can leave it 20 if you wanted to, that's fine. I just want to be able to show you this. And then I'm going to take and bring in a cylinder. Now this is actually a hole, but I'm going to group these two together with the alignment tool. And I can just click on this one, and that puts it directly in the center. So you can see that. And then let's group it together. Click on that icon. And now you can see I have a hole in the center. And what I'm looking for are these corner pieces. So to be able to take care of that, let's take this piece and just slide it right over here. I can use the arrow key and just slide it right over to that center point. And that looks good. Now if I wanted to take and just these two and hit the alignment and just align it on this, I could do that, and that would give me a perfect alignment. But if I select this, it's going to move it to the center. Don't want that. But let's just group that together. So that first half is gone. So now let's do the same exact thing. I'm going to bring another one. We'll put it down right here. And I'm just going to slide it up where it's halfway up. And that looks good. So I'll take this now, group it together. And that's what I'm looking for, is this corner piece right here. Now I'm going to make this where it's a hole. Okay. And of course I'm going to need several of these. So I'm just going to hit Control D, Control D, and Control D. And there we go. So now I have 4 pieces. So let's bring this back over here. And all I want to be able to do is just rotate this around 90 degrees. And then I will take it and just slide it right up there and put it right on that corner. You see how that works? And then I can just group this together, and there is the radius. It's just that easy. And I'll use these other pieces now. We'll take this, slide it over, and I'll take this one. We'll slide it up, rotate it to 180 degrees. Just like that. Slide that up in there till it's right on that corner. And that's close enough for this demonstration. Highlight both of them, group it together, and the radius is there. Now you can see I wasn't quite there. Let's highlight it. We'll ungroup it. And I can move that over just a little bit. I can also change this grid down here to 0.1 millimeter. And now I can move this much smaller increments and bring it right where I want it. And that looks good. So now I'll just take and highlight both of these and group them together. And now you can see that looks perfect. So that's just how easy it is. Put that right up into there. I can hit the F key and bring it in, and then I can move these over using the arrow keys, and we'll look at the back, and that looks good. Okay, we'll send this home. We'll take one more piece, we'll bring it up here, I'll rotate it, and do the same thing. We'll hit the F key, bring it in close, use my arrow keys, and just bring it right to where it needs to be. And that's moving it at 0.1 millimeter at a time. That looks good. Bring that over. Let's look at that. That looks good. We can zoom out, highlight both of these, and group it together. We'll hit the home key, we'll bring it back, and I don't need this one. And we'll just cut it. So how did I do the text? Well, you come right over here, we can click on this, and I can bring it right up into this area. And then I can just type in the word that I wanted. The font, I'm just going to leave it alone, but you do have a wide range of the fonts that you can use. And then you can change the height if you want it. You can bevel it, you can do all types of different things. But I'm just going to keep it real simple right now. So what I want to do is align this in the center. We'll hit the alignment, and I'm just going to hit it this way, and that gets it in the perfect center. That looks pretty good. But I don't want it as a solid item that's sitting there on top. So what I want to do now is change this height to about 2 millimeters. And we're going to make it where it's a hole. Okay. And that looks good, but see, it's still sitting 2 millimeters above. So I'm going to highlight it, and now I'm going to send this down 2 millimeters down. So I like the way that looks. Let's just group this together. And now I have where this will be recessed in, and you can see that. And that's going to look real good. So the next thing I want to do is be able to highlight this, and I want to be able to rotate it. We're going to rotate this up and stand it on its end, so we need to rotate it 90 degrees, just like that. Then I'll bring this piece over, slide it over into position. We'll use the alignment tool. We'll center this, and we're going to align it to this back edge. So that is just how easy it is to make it. Now, as far as this fillet, there's a couple of ways that you can do it. One is use this triangle. Well, let's rotate this so it'll work out correctly. 90 degrees. And this will be, let's just make it 10. And of course, we need this at 250. Okay. So that's going to be just right. And now we're going to do the same thing. We need to raise this up 5 millimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We can also just type this in at 5 millimeters. And then we need to slide it back into this area. And of course, the first thing I want to do is highlight this and align it this way. Okay. We'll close that. We'll turn that around, and that looks good. And of course, the next thing we'll do is group it all together. And that takes care of the fillet. So this is all done, and this is exactly what I wanted to be able to hold all of the different adapters for my dust collection. At this point, I'm ready to save the file and open it up in the Cura software. And at this point, when I bring this into the Cura software, this is what it's going to look like. Now there's several different settings that I want to be able to make before I slice this and prepare to be able to print it. I really think that people overthink this and really try to read in a lot more than what needs to be done. But let me open up this window, and I want to show you the settings that I make. Now I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and we're going to look at the different items that I look at. The quality, I leave alone. It's already set. I really see no reason to change it. But as I scroll down, what I want to be able to do is change the infill. On some items, I will do the 15 or 20%, but on something like this, 10% is fine. So I'll change the infill. I will also change the build plate adhesion. I want to use the skirt. And then that's really it. At this point, I'm ready to be able to slice this, and I can see the time that's 11 hours and 6 minutes to be able to print it. So I'll save this to the file, and I'll open it up in the printer itself. And this is what the skirt looks like. It's one thin line around the perimeter of the object, and you can see the second one is starting, and that's the actual base. I like the skirt a whole lot better because it doesn't actually touch the part, and it makes the cleanup so much easier. So it's the next morning now, and I'm coming in and looking at a brand new part sitting on the printer. All I need to be able to do is just grab it and pull it off the machine. That skirt stays there, and there is absolutely no cleanup of this part. It's done and ready to be installed on the wall and ready to hold the various adapters. So I really like how this project turned out, and leave me a comment, let me know what you think.